Hello and welcome back to LeEdFollow. I'm Lee and today I'm going to be telling you my top 10 list of common issues for the GT86, BRZ and FRS. Plus, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips for how to get the most out of your car. Okay, so starting under the bonnet, the first thing I want to tell you about is the weak factory battery. Out the factory, the earlier cars came with 45 amp hour batteries, which wasn't enough. The cars used to go flat after a few days of being parked up. And in the facelift cars, they put 65 amp hour batteries on, but it still wasn't enough. So I've gone for an 80 amp hour battery from Superbat. It's a Superbat 072. And now that has cured the issue once and for all. I can leave the car parked up for 3 weeks, doesn't go flat. And when I am going to go away for a long period of time, I put it on the trickle charger, keeps it topped up, job's a good one. Next, let's talk about the bonnet alarm switch, which is this little doodah here on a flimsy little bracket. And when you close the bonnet, it locates up into here. Now, the problem with these are, because they're very flimsy, they sometimes don't locate correctly and you can't lock the car, you can't alarm it. Chances are, if that's happening to you, this is going to be your culprit. Okay, let's talk rust. Not a big issue on GT86, but there's two places where they do rust. Number one is here on the doors. This strip that comes down next to the electric window can get a bit bubbly, can't really do much with it, just need to replace it. The second place they rust is along this strip here underneath the rubber. So what you should do is just peel it back, take a little look inside and see if there's any bubbling or if it's starting to go a bit rusty. Those can be repaired. Just unclip all of these little clips, undo all the little bolts, take it off, separate the rubber, and then you can rub it down with a wire brush, remove all the rust, put a bit of K-rust on it, and then repaint it with something like Hammerite straight to rust. Okay, so let's talk air conditioning. One of the common issues on these cars is that when the air conditioning gas gets a bit low, you'll find that the cold air will only actually come out of the passenger side vents and not the driver's side. Okay, so if you're getting that issue, first thing to do, get an AC going to recheck the system pressure and top it up if need be. I had the exact same issue and that's exactly what I had to do to get it solved. The best thing to do is just use your AC as much as possible because that keeps the gas recirculating around the system, keeps the seals lubricated on the AC pump. Still, every 2 years, you should probably get an AC specialist to come out and actually drain the system, vacuum out all the moisture and then refill it afresh. This is a typical do-it-yourself AC refilling kit. You'll see there's a canister that contains the gas. You've got an adapter that goes onto the low pressure side of your system, and you've also got a gauge to tell you when it's actually full. Okay, if you're going to do a DIY AC refill, then here are the ports you're going to need to know about. So here's the high pressure port, right at the front of the engine, just on top of the AC pump. And here's the low pressure port, which is right at the back of the engine down there. Okay, so GT86s, BRZs, FRSs, they all use one of two different types of AC gas. And the way to tell which one yours needs is by checking this sticker that's underneath the bonnet. You'll see that mine's an earlier car, so it's got R134A, but the later cars from about 2016, 2017 onwards, they switched to R1234YF. So if you're going to do a DIY replacement of your AC gas, make sure you've checked first to get the right one. The next common issue on the list is the high pressure direct injection fuel pump. As these get old, they start to make chirping sounds like crickets. The only solution that I've been able to find is to switch to SO99 Supreme unleaded. Don't ask me why, it's got something to do with the ethanol count, but on V-Power or on Tesco Momentum, all those other 99 RON fuels, these chirp like crazy. But on SO Supreme 99, quiet, issues fixed. I even had that pump replaced under warranty, didn't fix the issue. It was only the movement to SO Supreme 99 that finally shut this thing up. And another big thing is that a lot of people run their GT86s on just normal supermarket 95. Just look at this. So it even says under the fuel cap, don't run on anything less than 98 RON. I only ever run it on 99 RON. I've heard people that say, oh, it's fine, run it on 97, 95. But you hear so many people said later on, oh, I've had engine issues, oh, I've had a misfire, oh, it's actually broken itself. So don't cheap out. Just put 99 in, jobs are good, and take care of the car will take care of you. Okay, the next issue that I want to talk about are the oil control valves, which are on the front of the engine. I've done a separate video for this and I'll put the link in the description below. The rear lights, really common for them to fog up. Not a lot you can do with them. Best thing to do is park your car inside in a garage if you can, but if you can't, best just live with it. It's just one of those things. Okay, the electric windows. Really common issue on these is that the motors sometimes scratch the glass and they can also squeak as they're going up and down. If you're having that issue, take it to a dealer, try to get it done under warranty. Okay, the back seats and the parcel shelf rattling, very common issue. There's no surefire way to fix this. What you've got to do is first locate the source of the rattle, whether it's the seats or the parcel shelf, and then try to maybe squeeze in some automotive foam, maybe that self-adhesive stuff, just to try to stop the rattle. In my case, it was actually the lower hinges in the bottom corners here and the other corner here. I had to remove them, relocate them and bolt them back up, and that fixed my rattle. But you get 101 different rattles from the back shelf. It's just normal. You can only do your best to try to fix them. Big problem the earlier GT86s, BRZs and FRSs were the valve springs. Now these, I'm not sure whether they were brittle or if they were just a weak or a bad batch, but Toyota have been replacing them under warranty. So if you've got a 2012 or 2013 car, hell, if you've even got a 2014, just in case it was a late 2013 registered in 2014, you can go to the URL that I'm going to put in the description below. You can put in your VIN or your registration number and it will tell you whether your car needs the recall. If it does, then Toyota will do it totally for free under warranty. This car is a July 2014 and it doesn't need it. So I think that's about the cutoff when they fix the issue from the factory. Okay, so let's talk oil coolers. Really essential if you're going to do a track day. Got a little takeoff here with a thermostat valve in it, and then two pipes that lead down to a little radiator that sits here in the front of the engine. If you're going to do track days, really essential that you get one of these because these engines really get hot very quick. One of the things you should do is get a baffled sump fit, especially if you do track days. Can't show you it because it sits in the pan of the engine, but what it does is it separates the two sides of the engine so that when the oil sloshes from left to right, it doesn't all end up in one side of the engine, because that can cause oil starvation on the side that doesn't have the oil. Definitely worth getting. Okay, so as you can see on the cap, the standard engine oil for a GT86 is 0W20, but if you do track days, use a 5W30. Says you can do so in the manual, and that's a much thicker oil. It will keep the pressures higher, and that will protect your engine. The standard brakes are really quite good. Standard pads, not so much. They don't stand up to the abuse of a track day and they squeal really badly on the roads. So you should get CS Pro Streetmeister pads, that's what I recommend. And while you're fitting those, get yourself some Borg & Beck OEM discs. They're a fraction of the price of the Toyota ones, I think about a quarter of the price actually. And I always recommend that when you're changing pads or discs, you change them together, because the pads wear a groove into the discs and the discs wear down the pads. So if you're starting new, start with both new. If you're going to go full induction, if you're going to get turbo or supercharger, I would seriously consider upgrading the standard calipers and discs. The standard ones are just too small, they can't get rid of the heat quick enough. You should look at a big brake kit. However, if you're going to stay NA, standard calipers, standard side discs, perfectly fine. Just get some better pads. Even if you're the best parker in the world, you can always make your life easier by fitting your reversing camera. Lots of kits available on the internet, they don't cost a lot of money, and it just makes a difference when you're trying to reverse into one of those really tight spots. Tyres. If you want to drive this car on track, or if you want to drive it spiritedly, you need to get rid of those standard hard Michelin Primacy Prius tyres. What you should be looking to get is something nice and sticky and well reviewed, like the Goodyear Eagle F1 asymmetric 5s or the 6s, or the Michelin Pilot Sport 4s, or the recently released Pilot Sport 5. Okay, so heel pads, really recommend you get one of these. So over time your heel will wear a groove into the mat, and if this is left, the groove eventually becomes a hole. So online there are lots of cheap heel pads for sale. They're only a few pounds and they attach to your mat with 4, 6 simple bolts. They'll cover up the damage already done to your mat, but also give you a noticeably more solid base for your heel to pivot on while you're driving. Let's talk gauges. It's really important if you do track days that you're able to monitor all of your fluid temperatures, make sure that nothing's going wrong, nothing's getting a bit too hot. So what I've got is a combination of oil pressure gauge. This is by Pro Sport. It's a really nice little gauge. It's wired into the headlights, so it's one brightness during the day. Once you put your headlights on, it gets brighter. And then I've got a scan gauge 2, which reads all of the variables straight live off of the ECU. Fantastic little device. A couple of £100 this cost. And as you can see, it's reading 85 on the gearbox, 73 on the engine oil, 76 on the engine water temperature, and it even reads boost. How incredible is that for a car that came out the factory without a turbo or a supercharger? The ECU actually knows how to read boost, so that's a great little addition to the car. If you've ever owned a T-Bar MR2, you'll know how important this is. The rubber seals that go round the doors, they will dry out and they will perish over time, especially if you leave your car outside in the sun. What I do is once a year, I usually get some silicone spray and I just spray these down and then wipe it off, take all the dirt off, spray them a few times, and what that does, it just prevents the buildup of dirt, but also makes them supple, keeps the moisture in them so that they don't go brittle, and then you don't get any wind and water leaks as you're driving. Okay, so my final tip, if you've got access to a garage, it's best to keep your car inside the garage as much as possible. Just keeps it away from the elements, the wind, the rain, the sun. It dries out rubber, it bakes your interior, makes your leather go all brittle. Over time, it can fade surfaces, the plastics. Just much better if you've got access to a garage, keep it inside, keeps it nice and clean, and makes it look better for longer. So thanks for watching LeEdFollow. I hope you found this informative or useful, and we hope to see you next time. Bye for now.